Check that out. So Trick originally, back in the 90s, they actually made their shells thicker than they do today. This is what they call a T6 shell. 6.3 millimeters thick, also known as a 1/4 inch. Real thick boy. Love how it's purple on the inside, just like it is on the outside. Can you see that? It's like most Trick drums, this is all aluminum. This is not a paint, this is anodized. This will never come off, no matter how hard you try. You can scratch it, run it over with a car, take some sandpaper to it, still purple. It's got their 3-position throw off, and it's loud as hell. So Trick released these for their 30th anniversary. Only made 30 of these, and we have one of them. So if you want to give us a call, we'll hook you up. If you want us to ship it to you, head on over to chucklevins.com. Trick Kodiak.
Hey guys, we just got a new product in. It's designed to help prevent the spread of pathogens in and around the area on the bandstand and into the auditorium. It fits right on your trumpet bell. They also make it for trombone. It's made of a polypropylene fabric material, which is what they make face masks out of. And it's been proven and tested to actually work very effectively at preventing the spread of germs in and around the area. Attaches very easily. Has an elastic, stretches on and goes onto the bell, just like this. And it'll actually allow the air to come through, and of course sound comes through as well. Very, very minimal detectable change in sound, color, or response on the instrument. But basically you can play comfortably and not spread any germs across the room. It's available here at Washington Music Center. Just check our website, www.chucklevins.com.
Hey, what's good, friends and family? Guess what? I'm excited, and I hope you are too, because we got some limited edition new gear. And trust me, you want to check this out. This right here is the Record Box DDJ 400 in gold and black. Looking beautiful. So for all my Record Box users, we got you. Now, for all my Serato users, I did not forget about y'all. Serato Lite comes with the SB3 in this Platinum Chrome edition, all right? There's only a limited amount of them, so be sure you log on to chucklevins.com or give us a call directly and we'll get yours today. We'll see you soon, family.
Against the law to look this damn good. Cause baby, I feel real good and I wish I would. It's gotta be against the law to look this damn good. Everybody watch out. Watch out now. I'm ready for a good time and I came to groove. The whole band's here and we came to move. Got a fresh haircut and 2 new shoes. We're here all night like we got nothing to lose. I'm coming out the jacket cause we're turning up the heat. I wanna see you clapping when you get up out your seat. It's time to make it happen when we hit these streets. I'm coming in hot and I can't be beat. Watch out now.
He's not gonna win. He's not gonna win that game.
Hello, world. Welcome back to another Chuck Levin's Live. I'm Adam Levin, and I got the legendary Paul Schein with me once again. Hi there. And we have another awesome episode tonight. We have a legend on with us. And as usual, we have an equally as legendary giveaway. So if you have not already entered, there's still time. You got about 27 minutes, maybe. Yeah, about then. 25 minutes. We'll say that. To enter to win a super cool, we're still open. We're closing right now. It's a little crazy here. Kinda. We'll have to fix that real quick. Guys, show the giveaway real quick while I deal with one quick thing. Show them what we're giving away. Paul, talk about this amp real quick. What we're giving away. We're giving away Magellan 350. Paul, right. What's the deal? Tell them about it.
The Magellan 350 is the spiritual heir and successor to the legendary shuttle series that Jeff invented when he was the founder of, shall we say, another company that starts with G-E-N-Z. Oops, did I say too much? Anyway, it is the amplifiers that changed the world and freed bass players forever from the bitter bondage of gravity, which was Pharaoh back then. So now bass players can carry their amplifiers reliable, powerful, and they can laugh at the guitar players because their amp is lighter than the box that the guitar player's amp came in. And we are giving away an MG350, courtesy of our friend Jeff Genzler, bless his heart. And you're going to love hearing from him because he's got some fun stories. And I do want to hear if you had a 343 or a 390 in your Javelin. Anyway, be sure to enter because our giveaways are just getting crazier and more fun all the time. And you could be the lucky one.
It's that easy. It's too easy. Don't miss out on this one. It's super cool. And yeah, there's the link right there. Lots of ways to enter. Don't miss out. But I think without further ado, guys, we've got a lot to talk about. Jeff's a local boy, if you don't know. So we're going to go way back. We're going to talk about all kinds of cool stuff. Let's bring him in, the legend, Jeff Genzler.
And hello.
Hello. Welcome.
Welcome
to the stream.
Feels great.
Glad to have you.
Excellent. Well, it's great to be here. And I tell you what, I got a long history with you guys in the store, and I think Paul as well.
Well, I think let's get right into it. I mean, how'd you get your start in the world of amplification? Like, why did you get into it? What brought you to the music industry? Like, let's dig in. Let's go there.
It was the 60s. I grew up on the other side of DC from you guys in Alexandria. And I started playing guitar in elementary school with a bunch of friends, and it was all electric guitar and those kind of things, and just kind of grew up from there. And I always heard about Chuck Levin's music, but this was before the Beltway, so you guys were quite a hike across DC to get there. But I remember talking my dad into driving me out there a couple of times, and I bought one of my first amps from you guys. It was this old Gretsch tube amp. I think I sent a picture of it for you guys.
Let's bring that up, Tom. Let's put that up on the screen real quick. Don't show it away yet. Show the
that
amp.
is exactly what I am talking about.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. There it is.
This was the late 60s. I think you sold that to me, as a matter of fact.
No,
not quite.
No, I came here in '81, but I was getting my stuff from Chuck when he was down on 8th Street at 12th and H.
Yeah.
So I remember going into the store and seeing that Gretsch amp.
Yeah. No, I think I got it used or something, but that was like one of the first amps I got. And just trying to get to your store, I mean, it was just it was great to get there. But I left there in the 73, but I had bought a couple acoustic guitars from you guys. I think an Airy and a Guild Jumbo, a blonde Jumbo at one point. And that car's there because in 72, I don't know if you remember, there was a couple of really bad hurricanes that came through the DC area. I think Agnes was one of them, and that was my high school car. And not that one specifically, but just that same color, same Landau top. Mine had white stripes on it. And it had a 343 in it, not the 390.
You had to be pretty insufferable if that's what you were sporting in high school.
Yeah. I bought that for $1,600 off of somebody. But,
yeah, my mom and dad had cars like that. I drove a VW Beetle. It cost me all $200.
No, but no, I was working. I was working at the time and going to school and stuff, high school, and so. But in 72, I was coming back from my girlfriend's house, and I had two acoustic guitars in the back. One was that Japanese area, the other one was a Guild, and it was pouring rain and there's hurricanes. And I went to a low spot in the road, and the headlights flashed across, and there's nothing but 50 yards of water in front of me. And all of a sudden, the water's up to the headlights, the car stalls, water coming in under the door. And I had to climb out the top and wade back, and those two guitars were floating in the back seat.
Remember the movie Risky Business when they put the 928 Porsche up on the lift and they opened the door and it said, okay, which one of you is the U-boat captain? You're the U-boat captain.
Pretty much. I had to leave the car there. Somebody came back in the middle of the night and towed it out, but I couldn't get anybody to tow it out. But that car was totaled, unfortunately, and then I got a gold one instead. But no, those guitars I had bought from you guys had to be probably 70, 71 era, and eventually replaced them with a Martin D28. But anyway, that was a fun car, and of course I left in '73 to go to Arizona. What was I driving? A Nissan Datsun pickup truck or something like that with a camper shell on the back.
Very sexy.
Yeah, I went the wrong direction, I think, in autos. But anyway, but no, I always dreamed about shopping at Chuck's, and you guys always had those huge President Day sales and big ads in the papers and stuff like that. And it was you guys were the place to be and the place to shop at. And after I started Gens Benz in probably '83 or '84, and then eventually I got together with you guys. I think it was like the 410. You guys couldn't get SWR 410 cabinets for some reason. I don't think they could build them fast enough. And I think I talked with you and somebody else.
Yeah, me and Todd.
Yeah.
Actually, we were selling your nice fuzzy ozite covered amp racks for a while first.
Yeah.
And then when you started making cabinets, your 410 TXB with the ports on the bottom was very impressive for price asked. Yeah. And I guess we sold the whoopee out of those, and they were running hard for a long time.
Yeah, and that's where we started. That was the first thing, and we've been doing business ever since, which is phenomenal to have that long of a relationship, and it's great to be part of what's going on there, and the store is legendary. There's no question about it. So,
well, Paul was saying that you are equally as legendary and had a very interesting design and take on amp design and kind of set this whole thing off, and what makes Genzler amps so interesting and so unique in the world of millions and trillions of amps out there.
We can't talk about Gensler without talking about what Gens Benz was.
Right. And I'm not saying you haven't made progress, but everybody needs to, because I still have to explain to people who Gensler is, and because everybody, you all know that the people that owned that former company suddenly walked away from it, and I scratched my head till it bled trying to figure out why they would do that after it was running hard and dominating the industry for 6 years here. I mean, those shuttle combos, that was a 20-second sales close after people heard it. I'm not joking. I'm a good salesperson, but 20 seconds to come up with $1,200, something was going on. And the fact is, before that, even rack-mounted amplifiers were fairly heavy. The lightest one out there was the GK stuff, which was, 25 pounds or so. But, everyone used to talk about these Walter Woods amps that you bought, from an ad in the back of Popular Science or whatever. And they were small and compact and light. It sort of was like the polytone of bass player heads, where they, it was one of these esoteric things like, I don't need a lot of power, but somehow it got this hype that it was this really great portable thing, and it was loud enough to gig with. And so we were always talking to people about this, like we couldn't get them, you had to buy them direct. And people had experimented with these lightweight amps. But when you came out with that Shuttle Series amplifier, that really changed the landscape a lot. And it was the first commercially available, lightweight, reliable, really good sounding bass amplifier, and especially in the combo format. Because I used to joke with customers, every bass player wants an SVT, you should pardon the expression, that fits in a thimble and doesn't cost too much. And you, at that time, had gotten as close as any human had ever gotten to delivering that with the Shuttle 210 combo. So fast forward, Fender realizes the patents are running out. Everyone's going to start covering Johnny B. Good. And I finally was able to figure out why they shut the doors on that company, is because they realized everyone was going to cover the tune. So anyway, that's how
I have no answers to those questions, but
yeah, I know. So, I already figured it out. You don't have to answer me. I did the digging. I know.
It's just fun to hear you talk too.
That fast forward to this, the spiritual grandchild. Yes, I'm not going to just dwell on the past. Anyway, this is the spiritual grandchild right here to all that Class D knowledge that you brought to the game. And I jokingly told Adam before we went on that you are to bass players what Moses was to the Israelites. You led them out of bitter gravity bondage after suffering for these many years under that. Yes, you were the deliverer. That's right, Jeff. You were the deliverer. Right.
No,
only Paul.
Exactly.
Who am I to lead these people out of bitter bondage?
That's right. No, at Gens Benz, I was part of a great team that brought the several lightweight amps to market back in 2008 or 9. Myself, Scott Andres, who's my engineer now at Gensler, Andy Field, and then Roger Hart, who was with KMC Music. We were a team of 4 people, and bringing the shuttles, the Shuttle Max, the Streamliner, and I think what we did especially well was present something reliable, but also mix it with lightweight bass cabinets.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Hence you got the shuttle combos, which were very powerful, very lightweight, and it just made sense because there were still some amps coming out, but you still had to marry it with a 45-pound 112 cabinet, and here we were doing it at like 30 pounds.
And you were telling me actually when we were talking earlier that you had built a cabinet in your basement.
Well, okay, you're gonna go there. Huh? Okay.
Let's go there.
Someone told me a long time ago to make all your mistakes early and get them behind you. And so when I lived back in Alexandria, I was a gear geek and I loved, going to stores, like Chuck's and seeing things and getting stuff. And I eventually, I had a blonde showman, I think, a blonde basement or something like that at one point. But I wanted to start building my own cabinets. So we had one of those split level houses like you have in Virginia. The basement's half a basement downstairs. So I bring in big sheets of plywood. And back at that time, everything's got to be huge. Paul, I don't know if you remember the Tiny Tim by Magnatone, I think it was.
Yep.
It's like 8 feet tall or something like that. 16, 12-inch speakers.
And why not?
Well, that was my mindset. So I built a cabinet that was as, bigger than our refrigerator in the house. It was 215s. So it's tons of room. And so, I'm built this thing, really proud of it. And I turned around and look at the door that I brought everything in and realized that I can't get it out. So my parents lived in that house till the late 70s or so, and I had to go in there and cut it in half in order to get it out of there.
Oh,
but that was one mistake that I guess I've told the story now, but that was a pretty dumb move on my part. But it was fun. I learned not to do that again. So every time I build a cabinet somewhere, I make sure I measure the doors so I can get it out.
Well, that's how Pete Townsend and Jim Marshall invented the famous Marshall half stack split cabinet, because Pete wanted to be loud because he was famous for that, and Jim built him the 812 cabinet, and the roadies got sick of trying to move this 812 cabinet up these back stairs into these clubs in London, and so Jim cut the thing in half, and the 2-piece stack was born. So there it is.
So
you had more in common with Jim and Pete than you knew.
How did I even know that? I guess
That's right.
I wasn't the only one making those mistakes. But
so I got a question for you also. But before I ask mine, people that are watching, we got a lot of people, Todd and Alex and all these people. Feel free to ask questions. I mean, this is a unique opportunity to get direct access to the man himself. So if you have questions about amps or Genzler amplifiers or anything in between, don't be shy. We'll try and stack up some questions and get to them as we see them. So drop them in the comments. Just type them in there and we will get to them for sure. So I was going to ask, you mentioned you had some acoustic guitars, but I see some, you make bass amps. Do you play bass, or did you what did you do to the bass?
I mean, I played in bands from 77 to 91 or something like that. I was a guitar player in a band. But back in high school, I played guitar and I played bass. I actually built a bass in high school. We won't even go there. But robbed the neck off of some other instrument and built the body. But anyway, I play enough bass to, test amps and do that kind of stuff. And but I think we also offer acoustic amps. And there's something about the bass instrument, and the acoustic instrument. It's all about the wood and the tonality of that and the pure tone of the strings and the resonance of the wood. On electric guitar, I mean, all you want to do is pretty much obliterate your tone half the time, But so I think that both bass amp design and acoustic amp design share the commonality of trying to bring the most natural sound of the instrument through the amplification and signal chain and out the speakers. And
I think let's take it deeper, because very timely, Todd asks specifically about your acoustic guitar amps. So let's keep going on the acoustic amp side of things. Like let's talk about, what you've done with Gensler and how these amps kind of stack up. And before I got to interrupt myself right there. Before we go into that real quick, guys, there's about 15 minutes left on this giveaway. Don't miss out. This is huge. Boom. Signed by the man. There it is. MG350.
I'll sign it.
It's awesome. It's going to be for you specifically, whoever wins.
Yeah.
So don't be shy. Sign up. Do it.
Yeah. And about acoustic guitars, yeah, I think that our acoustic amps, even back in the Gensler's days, we had the Shenandoahs, and they got phenomenal review. Matter of fact, they're still being used in Nashville and a variety of places like that. And we came out with when I started Genzler Amplification 5 years ago now, 4.5. We came out with a specific speaker design, the bass array, which was a woofer with a line array of small little full-range drivers in front of the woofer. The minute we developed that for bass, immediately knew that's going to make a great acoustic guitar cabinet. So eventually, after we got the Magellan 800 and a bass array line of cabinets going, we took that, technology and design and brought it into the Acoustic Array Pro, which is a 10-inch driver, which I'll pull this out later, but it also has a line array of these 4 little 2.5-inch speakers. Now, everybody, I hear a lot of times people call these tweeters, but these are actually neodymium full-range speakers. We just happen to cross them over in such a way that they only produce the all-important mids and highs. And because it's a line array, they project much broader horizontally, and they control the pattern vertically. But the Acoustic Array Pro has been a phenomenal success. Brian Chartrand is one of our artists in Phoenix. Matter of fact, we have a new video coming
I think we got it. I think we got it teed up that we can show a little bit of
it.
Why don't we,
Brian, yeah.
Yeah, why don't we drop that in, guys? Let's play that video real quick.
Hey, my name is Brian Chartrand. I'm a singer-songwriter in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm really enjoying my new Acoustic Array Pro by Genzler Amplification. I've been doing a lot of live streaming from my home lately, and I've been using the Acoustic Array Pro. I really love how easy it is to set up. It has plenty of volume and it has this great balanced sound. And I've been getting a lot of compliments because it's really clear. But I also think it's going to be great to use for some of the solo gigs that I do here in town. I can leave my mixer in the car and have all the power and balanced sound that I need. The Acoustic Array Pro, I think, is a great amp for guitar players who are novices all the way up to professional guitar players. I think it's a great tool. You can have it if you really want it.
Yeah, Adam's got a great voice and he's a great player. And what I was going to say, that there's a nice little niche of players around Phoenix there. And one of our new artists, Kim Weston, she's a vocalist and a violinist. And she's using the Acoustic Array Pro. And both of them got together last week and recorded a video, and we'll have that out probably next week. And phenomenal. She's singing, playing violin. Brian's playing acoustic guitar, accompanying her, all with the Acoustic Array Pro. And matter of fact, I mean, even a lot of I was talking to a dealer today that, and you guys have them at the store there too. They really show off acoustic guitars so well that you end up selling more acoustic guitars because of how you're demoing it through the Acoustic Array Pro.
It's interesting. I mean, I think it goes back to the design you were talking about. And actually, Alex is asking a question I think applies. So, like, these aren't just bass amps. The line array is a full range. It makes us a full range speaker that can produce the whole frequency spectrum that you need to do. So Alex was asking if it's going to be, or does Genzler developing an amp for upright basses? But I think the answer might be that you already have.
Well, I mean, you can play. We do have players use the Acoustic Array Pro for upright. It depends on how much demand you have on it. Our Magellan 350 does the same thing, the 350 bass combo, but it does not have the mic input that a lot of upright guys are looking for. So we are, taking a strong look at what a future amp could be to be able to do both a little more. But we can change the woofer in in a Magellan or Acoustic Array Pro and put a heavier duty Neo driver in it. And that would pretty much get you the same thing too. So.
For all you players watching, what you can gather from what Jeff is saying is that he doesn't do covers. When he designs something, he assumes that nobody's ever made anything like this, and he puts everything he knows or can find out into its performance. So just, screwing it together and putting an amp in there and putting his name on it, that doesn't get him off. He's one of those people that needs to just do it from the ground up and get it the way he likes it. It's like, if I can use one of my famous car analogies, when the Porsche family built a car to impress themselves, you got the 911. When they did one to impress, if I'm going to say this, a dentist's wife, then you got the Cayman. There, I said it.
Okay,
you said it, Paul.
You live with that. But you know what? You said something right. And after Gens Benz, there was a lull. And when I was thinking about, Gensler, I still had more to say. I realized that, we just can't come out with another woofer tweeter cabinet and, just be the same thing we were before. In all aspects, Genzler Amplification is the next generation. And the heart of coming back with something was the base array concept, which actually, I've got this smaller one here because most of them are pretty big. But, what we did with, having a woofer and a line array concept that sits right in front of it, there you go, like that. That's the heart of the base array concept. And the ability to have the woofer doing all the low frequencies up to the point where it's not as efficient. Then the line array comes in and it's extremely efficient at the mids to highs. There's no need for a tweeter. So we've taken that harshest of components completely out of the base system. And in making the line array concept blend with the woofer, we've gotten a much more broader horizontal dispersion. And I like to tell people that people always want to know, well, how loud is it? How powerful is it? And all that stuff. And I think there's power in brute force, and then there's projection, which is finesse. And this is all about projection and dispersion. So that, you can put a lot of power to it. This little cabinet does 250 watts, conservatively, RMS, but it's much more efficient. So it projects better. It passes through the stage better. It passes into the audience better. And what I hear time and time again from players that switch from some big refrigerator rig to, a couple of BA-12 3s or even a couple of these little BA-10 2s is that all of a sudden my drummer's talking to me again. He can hear me. So, and he likes what I'm playing, because he can hear it. And the band is the first people on stage to realize that, wow, you're not, I'm not yelling at you to turn down, but I hear you so much better. And that's the key to what the base array concept does. And that's what, we figured out early on, and that, this is something truly different.
It's really interesting. Like, we were even talking about it last week when we were doing studio monitors. We had a stream on studio monitors last week. We talked about there being, two-way, three-way, four-way studio monitors, and there's the reason behind it is that each driver can be more efficient and present the full spectrum of the audio clearer and cleaner. Mm-hmm. And so, like, you've done that. Like, most bass amps is, it's an 18 or not an 18, but a 15 or a 10 or a 12 or something, or an 8, one woofer, and it's trying to, bass is not just low end. I mean,
no,
like we had Doug Wimbish on here. I mean, that guy plays nothing low end. That is all just ripping, soaring kind of stuff. And you need to be able to hear all these harmonics and frequencies that come out of this guitar.
Well, we connected, sent a rig up to a player in Massachusetts, Nathan Navarro. He's phenomenal. And he did a demo video of our Magellan 800, the base array 210 slant, and our base array 15. And this guy's played everything. I mean, he does, his videos go around the world, and he's a phenomenal bass player. I think you've got a video somewhere here.
Yeah, maybe let's drop it in real quick before we go too much deeper. Let's play that Navarro video.
He just heard himself so well. Just give a Man, he's a monster. But
Awesome.
he wrote all the music in that video.
That's killer.
It's nice to see some overhand playing.
Yeah. No, he's great. And the thing about it that, the clarity and definition just was the first thing he said, man, I've never heard myself so well. And what we hear from a lot of bass players after they start playing, when a Gensler rig, is that the fatigue goes away because they can hear themselves so much better. Their forearm doesn't get so tired, and the knuckles and the fingers and such, that they just play with more ease, and they end up playing longer than they thought they were.
Yeah, and if you sound better, you play better. If
Exactly.
you're having fun, you're having fun. So
Yeah.
when people, when they're trying acoustic guitars, they want to know, well, why don't you play it so I could hear what it sounds like? And I tell them, you should never buy any instrument that doesn't sound good to the person that's operating it, because if you're not having fun, the audience isn't going to be having any fun.
You will not play as well. There's no way about it.
I'm talking about fun real quick. Sorry to drop in. 2 minutes left on our giveaway. Let's throw that back up on the screen real quick. Let's show them what they could win.
There it is.
Right there. Magellan MG 350, signed by the man himself for you. Whoever wins, you got 2 more minutes to enter. It's right there. It's going to be in the comments too. So if you have not entered yet, do so now. Give it your last shot. We'll announce the winner at the end of the stream, but only probably like 1 more minute now. So don't miss out. Enter. This is a great one. This is one of the best ones we've done yet. So, yeah, don't miss out on this.
Rush in. But no, I mean, just to finish up about tone and definition and clarity. I mean, granted, I understand the bass array might look a little, hi-fi, very modern. It sounds phenomenal with a P bass and flat wound strings, and because it gives you that clarity and definition that a woofer and a tweeter are just gonna, they're just gonna smatter that all over. This gives you a much more clarity to hear the detail of the strings and your fingers, and that's what you want to hear. I mean, you want to hear your fingers.
Yeah, the clarity is really in the mid-range, and mid-range gets a bad rap. We're guilty of it in most music stores, is that, there's a lot of people that do a lot of thumb pop and funk and all that, but people have the tendency to try to make basses sound like guitars and scoop the mid out of them. But when you're playing a live music situation, mid is really what you're hearing, because the cymbals are walking all over the high end and the kick drums walking all over the low end. So mid-range on stage live is your friend. And the bass array system makes this much clearer statement about what you're actually hearing as a player, which is some version of the mid-range frequencies.
That's the difference between a seasoned player and a guy with very little experience. Because
you don't mean me, right?
No, I know you're seasoned. You've been there forever, and you've heard it all. But no, to have that clarity and definition, so your tone doesn't get lost in the kick drum, especially on a big mic stage. And definition of clarity, the same thing in an acoustic guitar. There's so many acoustic guitars that you love this big, rich, low-end sound, but it's the mid-range that gets through. I mean, frankly, I've heard a lot of it, about various different guitars. Some acoustic guitars are a little more mid-focused than others. That's the one that the country guys play, because their strumming fits right in the middle of the whole stack of frequency response. And they don't want to get lost in the mumble down below or the very tippy top end, of frequency response. The mid range is critical, and that carries through so much in the bass world. And when we're designing speaker cabinets, I mean, that's the part we probably spend the most time about. And people talk about frequency response and all that stuff, but the tone of the mid range has nothing to do with anything you're going to see on a spectrum analysis or something like that. You got to judge it with these things, and everybody hears differently, and you hear mid-range is heard much easier than the low frequencies and the high frequencies, especially me. I know I stood next to a cymbal for 18 years, so I know there's a little less over here, but anyway, there's the clarity and definition in the mid-range is just so important regardless of the music you're playing, and even if you're doing the slap pop thing, I mean, the thickness comes from not 40 or 30 hertz; it comes from 100 hertz, in the frequency spectrum.
So where did the bass array concept come from? Like, how did that come to be what you guys came up with?
Well, we were messing back in the Gens Benz days. Even, I mean, we were looking at different things, and I was always interested in small drivers to replace a tweeter. Matter of fact, I didn't think about this before, but I don't know if you know Brian Bromberg, phenomenal jazz bassist.
yeah.
I go back to the late '80s with him, and he's always used these piezo pickups under his bridge, and his instruments are incredibly bright. And we got together. He was endorsing Gens Benz back in the the late '80s and such, and we made him a 15 with 2 5s, no tweeter in it, specifically because his instrument was so bright. And he loved it. That was very tame top end. And now, that kind of instrument, you play it through a PA system or you play it through, a regular woofer tweeter. You got to be careful. That's very bright. But so we actually did some small speaker stuff even back in the '80s, under Gens Benz. But, I kept seeing, all the line arrays that are used in audio systems and concerts. And so many times, depending on the venue, those could be the tiniest little boxes. There's just a lot of them, and they do that art that gives you, the projection and the dispersion and the high SPLs. In this little line array, each one of these little speakers, the specifications and stuff tell you it's unusable because it's just not loud enough. But when you stack them together and you get them the right distance apart and you place them just so in front of the woofer, these all coupled together. They get louder. They increase their frequency response changes as well, and that's the heart of what makes the bass array. Now, how did it come about and such? It was just a matter of seeing how do we get away from the same woofer tweeter. I've made a woofer 2 8s and a tweeter. I've made a variety of different cabinets over the years that played around with different type of scenarios. And I just kept looking at drivers to say, you know what? There's nothing more efficient in the mids and highs than a small diaphragm driver. But yet we're asking a woofer to go up and do all that high mid frequencies until it gets to the range of a tweeter, which just isn't a good blend of frequency response. But
that's it. We do it in PA systems and stuff like that. Like why wouldn't you do it like that? It makes total sense. Awesome.
So the huge benefit of it is that it has its own aural experience. A bass player that told me at one point says you just hear yourself differently, and to that extent, it's wow. I've never heard myself that way. For some guys, they say, "Whoa, I got to practice my technique because I'm hearing things I've never heard before." But a lot of guys, Doug Johns told me that at one point, phenomenal bass player as well. But it's just a natural, it's almost like a duh moment. Wow, well, why wouldn't you let the woofer be in its ported enclosure and then put a small sealed chamber of line arrays in front of it and just let it rip? And it's really worked out well, and globally it's worked out well because it's so different. It gets interest, from a lot of people, around the world. They've never really seen that or experienced that.
Todd actually has a good question on that topic. So he asks, what part does market research play in your decision to start production on something like the bass array?
I'll point to the bass array 15.3 SLT. It tells a lot. A whole lot. Todd's on Talk Bass, I'm sure, and I'm on a few forums. I answer every email comes in, obviously, and I have a lot of discussions with people that are learning about our stuff, people that are using our stuff, people that are thinking about our stuff, and you learn a lot. And when we first brought out the bass array 12 and such, I thought, man, the B string sounds phenomenal. It's such a small package. Why would we ever need a 15? And my history is I really never liked 15s. Well, people kept asking me, and I kept coming back to say, well, it's going to be a slightly bigger cabinet, worried about weight and, and such. But I tell you what, I don't know who it was that beat me down about it, but I got to thinking, we get too many questions about a 15, and I asked around a lot, and there was still a lot of guys playing 15s. Even though I think the 12 is supplanted a lot of what players use. There's still a lot of 10 guys. The 12 came up, and a matter of fact, I think, Paul, going back to you guys, in the early Gensben's days, I think we were one of the early adapters of a single 12 cabinet or a 212 cabinet.
Oh yeah.
You guys took it right on, ate it right up. So
Yeah, those DO 212, those vertical DO 212s. That was just about as violent as a 410, and it was lighter and it was cheaper, and I sold the whoopee out of those things.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yes.
And that's what happened to this Base Array 15. Guys started asking about it, so we did some things and took a look at it and found the right mix of woofer that would work well. And I was worried about weight, but the beauty about that cabinet, two things. Number one, the 15 is a big motor structure. It's in a well-ported cabinet, and the line array is the line array. It's the same line array we use in all the other Base Array 12, 210, and all those. But the beauty about the 15, we only make it as a slant, which is, kind of at a 6-degree angle. And whenever we make a cabinet that has the built-in slant, we get rid of many more standing waves inside the cabinet. So where a 15 can sound, tubby and kind of too big in the low end, woofy, because it's not in a cabinet with a bunch of perpendicular angles. These inner panels are at a different angle, a 6-degree angle. So we get rid of a lot of the standing waves. It becomes a lot tighter, much tighter. It doesn't affect your lowest frequency response, but it just makes the feel of it tighter. And Mel Brown did a video for us on the Base Array 15 when we first launched it. Phenomenal player, again, out of Phoenix. And he played 15s years ago. I said, Jeff, I'm just not a 15 guy, but we sent him the cabinet, said, we'd like you to do a video on this. And he said, man, sorry, Jeff, I'm calling this the un-15 because it's everything you would not expect from the 15. It's tight, it's beefy, there's no woof to it, and the clarity and the definition just shine because the blend of the large woofer, large piston voice coil and the line array. And that cabinet is like 34, 35 pounds. It's super light. Matter of fact, a lot of times people pull it out of the box and say, are you sure you put the speaker in this thing? Because it's pretty light. And it's been phenomenal. And we launched it at the January NAMM, probably the last NAMM we're going to know of for a while. And, we did great. We had our first productions and such. And then COVID hit. And even with everything going on, that has been one of our best-selling cabinets globally, too. People just, grab onto it, and they, it's an expensive cabinet, but I talked to a lot of guys that use our stuff and said the value's there. You get what you pay for, and they really, stuff really does what it's. The biggest compliment I've ever gotten is this really does what you say it does, and I'm glad people think that when they buy our product. So
it's awesome. We've talked a lot about cabs. Let's talk about amps.
Amplifiers, yes, sir.
Amplifiers. Let's get into it. So, let's talk about. There we go. We got two of them right here.
And I got the baby.
So, what's been the concept and the design behind the Magellan series, and what's kind of been your whole take on these things?
Well, you can't talk about the Magellan without talking about the Genzben's shuttle and the Streamliner and everything we did back then. Because we learned a lot. We were one of the early adapters of after Walter Woods, of the lightweight amp concept married with lightweight cabinets. But we learned so much about the beauty of what you can do with a 6-pound amplifier, and the circuitry and all that stuff. And especially when we developed our Streamliner, which was it's an all tube front end with the Class D back end. So I think it was actually, a godsend that we started from scratch with Gensler. It was a clean slate. So we know we've been before. We're not going backwards. We're going forwards. This is the next generation. And, we took a lot of the circuits that we did before and said, well, we can do it better. Our EQ circuitry, even though, the controls look the same like you'd see on a shuttle, that circuitry is completely different. There's a lot less interaction between the EQ circuits. The I think this thing that really sets us apart is the contour circuit. We wanted to make sure that the first thing someone would do was set everything at 12 o'clock and get a really good tone. And also not to be a one-trick pony. That so many players, I mean, bass players, they play in a variety of different bands, funk, country, worship, all that. They've got a variety of tones. They got a variety of instruments. You very, very rarely do you find a bass player with one bass. A pro player. So they've got to call on their gear to do a lot of different things. And we wanted the Magellan series to be that. So we took wanted to have a very, very clean signal path. We think our tone is clean and uncluttered, and you hear what your instrument is and your fingers are almost because of the PC board layout. I'm not the engineer. Scott Andres is, but together we work together about exactly what we want, exactly how we want this to deliver. For the user and the player. Number one is reliability. Number two is you put in what you get out what you put in, and number three is flexibility. And it's probably hard to see, but the contour circuit here, there's a slope A, which at 12 o'clock you're getting a mild scoop, not dramatic. We really wanted to make sure everything we did in this amp was musical. That was probably the biggest word we used in designing the amplifier. We needed to be musical. Many times you'll see a contour circuit. When you start swinging that control, man, it's like, good grief, that is an unusable tone. And we didn't want to go down that road. So we developed this to gently raise the lows and the highs and to cut the mids at a very, very pleasing frequency. The contour B pretty much does the opposite. The more you turn it up, it rolls up the low frequencies. It rolls down the high frequencies, and it puts about a 100 hertz bump in the low mids. And it just gives you that fatter tone. And not that this is a vintage tone, but we've had many guys tell us it sounds like I took my ported cabinet and made it into a sealed cabinet. Because it just gives you a little different immediacy than you would in a ported type of cabinet. But guys just love how easy it is to get that great tone, and so many people playing, they never touch the EQ, only in a room where they've got to fix something, But a lot of times the EQ circuit is probably the least used in our amplifier, And with the Magellan 800 that you've got there, we have a drive channel, and in that drive channel, we've got a very pleasing overdrive. When we are clipping the circuitry, we're not clipping the ultra lows and the ultra highs. It makes it flubby and buzzy. We're really concentrating on the mids and enhancing what that does, and then the harmonics of that really blends to become a very nice sounding, overdrive. Whether you use a little bit just for, a little more of a classic tube amp tone, or if you go all out and have a little more overdrive to it. So there's a lot you can do within, the amplifier preamp to give guys a palette for what they can do for a variety of gigs that they might have to play on. And I think that's what we really achieved. We really achieved something that, has plenty of power. No one's ever told us they're lacking for power in a Magellan 800. And a very musical sounding, simple to get a great tone amplifier. And, that's with our Magellan 800. And we hear the same thing about our Acoustic Array Pro and our Acoustic Array Mini. Again, you set everything at 12 o'clock, you strum the guitar. Wow, that's a great spot. I don't need to really do much from there.
You mentioned versatility, and I think we have one more video that is like total 180 from everything else that we've seen so far. So might as well drop that one and let's see what versatility looks like.
Got it. Man, do you see that? See that thumb action? I don't know how he does that. But that's another great point. I mean, in the bass array concept, most guys think, oh, that's for, a very hi-fi sounding, very clean, articulate tone. I mean, that's wrong. I mean, that sounded great. And live, I'm sure you can hear the definition of all, I think he's using a dark glass pedal on that tone. You can just hear all the overdrive and the destruction of the tone, but yet it's still defined and clear. And we've got guys using the bass array cabs, running it with a 100-watt tube head, just loving the harmonic content. They can hear much better because of the line array and woofer concept and something like that. I mean, it's just, it can do all times of music genres for sure.
Yeah, I mean, in heavy music like that, I mean, it can get muddy if you're not, it's about precision. I mean, that is precise, and you got to be like in there to hear all that's going on. It's complex music, and so to have something like that can produce that and push it out, that's a special solution.
Yeah, and then put that into the context of a live band.
Right. To get it with all the drums and everything heavy going on. I mean, you have to make space for all those different instruments to be heard in such a complex composition.
It takes a very precise, clear tone, even for that tone, to keep it alive in a live band setting. And, and every stage is different. I mean, we talked about if you hear yourself better, you play yourself better. You play better. And one thing I learned in playing for years in bar bands and stuff, that, man, you could just tell. We were either in a good room or everything was set up. Everybody had their gear just set right. When you were playing and everybody heard themselves well, you just couldn't do anything wrong. It was there. And then you had the nights where, I don't know, so-and-so's too loud, or man, this room's got a glass wall right on the other side of the stage or something like that. We used to play in a place called the Top of the Rock in Phoenix, and there was a huge wall behind us, and there was a DJ booth that they built into the back. It was like a cave. And man, we could get and the whole room was glass. We were fighting ourselves just because of where we were. And then my drummer's playing one night, and he's looking over at the wall. There's a scorpion crawling along the side of the wall. He said, "We're out of here. We're taking a break." Man,
wild.
You get trouble playing at bars like that. You get bit.
What else haven't we talked about? What's coming? What's in the future for Gensler? Like, what are you working on? What's coming up next?
Well,
had to ask.
Hey, where's that Gensler clarity I've heard so much about?
Yeah, muzzle this guy. No, we are definitely working on things. So we don't talk about stuff before it's available, but we are using this time. We're not just, as business. I mean, the store, ourselves, we're not using this time to just, okay, we're just going to sit and wait till the market comes back to us. No, we are looking at what we're doing. We're looking at what people are doing now, and we're looking at what can Gensler do to, bring some things in to what the new is going to be, and nobody knows what it is. So it's like throw a dart and see what you're going to do. But we do have some things coming up for the first of the year, and definitely. I think they'll be exciting. I think they'll fit really well in what we're doing. So you, Mr. Store Salesman and Gensler Dealer, I think that you will appreciate what we're doing. And I think we'll have some products that will touch a lot more people and introduce them to Genzler Amplification.
Awesome. We can't wait. I mean, that's great to hear. And yeah, I mean, there's opportunity here. So it's super. We're excited. We can't wait to see it. I think it's time we give this thing away. I think we've kept these people waiting long enough. So,
will somebody know if they're on the line, if they won?
If they're on the line, they're going to know right now. And if not, we're going to hit them up afterwards. So guys, without further ado, behind the scenes, who is our winner of the signed MG350 amplifier? Who we got? Joe B. Congratulations.
Yeah. All right.
Congratulations, Joe.
Maryland.
Crofton. Right around the corner, not too far. Joe, congratulations.
Hey,
we appreciate you.
I'm going to sign it on the bottom so it doesn't get in the way.
There you go.
I'm doing it right
just for you, Joe. We'll hit you up. We'll get this thing to you. Jeff will send it our way and we'll get it over to you. Awesome.
Oh,
There it is.
Awesome.
There it is.
That's it. It doesn't get any better than that.
All
There
right.
he is. He's on the stream. He's watching.
Awesome.
Now
Awesome.
it's awesome. It's happening. Congrats, Joe. That's great. Thanks for tuning in.
So I guess get the address and we'll ship it out to him.
We'll get it going.
All right.
Well, Jeff, this has been awesome. Like to hear coming from customer to live stream in 2020 and all this craziness. We appreciate the long relationship and look forward to many more. And we're excited for what's to come. We sincerely do appreciate it. It's not every manufacturer out there that we can have a story that goes literally to like coming and getting your first stuff here. So it's really special to be able to to share that.
That actually does happen quite a bit.
It happens enough that it happens,
I don't
but
think
still, to go back that far is really special.
I'm not going to change my name to Kevin Bacon, but I think I could.
Yeah. You got several degrees there, huh?
Yeah.
But no, I've met a lot of the Levins family and such, and it feels great to have gone to a store when I was a sniffly little teenager and drooling over the stuff, and having guys like Paul chase me out of there, probably, but before Paul was there. But then to come back and offer a product that you guys think is worthy to be there, I think that's awesome, and I couldn't ask for anything more. And you guys represent us really well. And Paul and Carlos and the whole team there, thank you guys very much. And Adam, thank you. And we'll keep doing it.
Yeah, we look forward to it. You make a super unique product, and it definitely has it's earned its right in the world of bass amplification. So we appreciate it. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks to all you guys and girls that have been watching and chiming in on this stream. It's been great. We'll see you next time. Be on the lookout for our next giveaway. We got another stream coming up next week, every Wednesday, 6 o'clock. We'll see you next time. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you guys. Take care.
See ya.